The Hilinskis have channeled their pain into a cause, a nonprofit foundation called Hilinski's Hope. Since Tyler's death in January 2018, they've traveled the country, sharing their story.
You recognize this kid? Oh, he loved movies. He liked being at home. He wasn't perfect. Peacemaker, dedicated, hard worker, blah, blah, blah. And he's gone.
Their mission? To encourage college administrators to dedicate more resources to mental wellness and to assure student athletes it's okay to speak up.
Just know that you all mean so much to people in your lives. Please take the time to take care of yourself.
Mental toughness? How many times have you heard that? Still important. You gotta go fight. You gotta do the work. But there's a difference between mental toughness and being afraid to talk about something that's really bothering you. Okay. Good luck. You got it? All right, bub. Thank you, sir. I can tell you unequivocally, it's well over hundreds of stories and phone calls and emails and texts that by hearing Tyler's story, I didn't follow through with self-harm in some form. So we're going to continue to talk about Tyler's life and the sad, unfortunate circumstances around his passing because we think it's saving other people from experiencing the same end. And that's incredibly important.
Good morning and welcome to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's a Monday edition of the program. Hope everyone had a great 4th of July weekend. We got a good show lined up for you today. A little different today. We're going to kick the show off with my good buddy from WRUF ESPN Gainesville, Steve Russell. Second portion of the program, we're going to be joined by Mark and Kim Hilinski talking about their son, Tyler Hilinski, and mental health issues with student athletes. But first, let's go to the Titan MR hotline. We're joined by this guy that now he knows about technology. He's all hooked up on his Zoom. Steve Russell, good morning. How are you?
Chainer, I'm okay, but I got to thank Carol because if it wasn't for her, I'd probably be talking to you on the phone. So I got to give props to where it's due. Well,
all your fans out there wanted to see what Steve Russell was looking like on Monday after July 4th weekend. So Steve, obviously, there's still really not any sports to talk about. However, the PGA Tour is still going along. I know you're not a golfer, but have you tuned in to watch any of the PGA Tour since it's been back?
You know, since it came back, I've watched more golf than I ever have. I've actually played golf the last 3 weeks just to have something to do. Now, play golf in parentheses, but you get more. But, one of the things that just watching yesterday, DeChambeau's ridiculous. I mean, the guy hits at 350 and just doesn't even try. And I'm not sure that's good for the game, because a lot of the courses now, you hit a drive 350, you bring out a wedge. I could never do that. But, I don't know that that's the way the game of golf was meant to be played. But he's fun to watch. And it was a good field yesterday, too.
It's interesting, Steve. You may not know this. He was one of the, I don't want to say shorter, but he was middle of the pack in driving distance before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So during the pandemic, he got on this weight program and it talked about what he ate, all these protein shakes and everything. And he bulked up and man, he is pounding the golf ball right now. It's crazy how far he's hitting it. So, as you mentioned, they've lengthened the golf courses over the years since Tiger came on and the Koepkas, the Dustin Johnsons of the world. But how long can you make these golf courses? And he tore it up yesterday. It was fun to watch.
Yes, but you're going to run out of land, Shane. Eventually, You can't keep extending golf. There's only so much land on this earth.
Yeah, very true. So Major League Baseball, is going to try to play here, I think, at the end of the month, along with the NBA. Your thoughts on both those sports and how crucial it is for those to go pretty smooth in order for football to be played this year?
Well, I have my doubts, and I hope I'm wrong. I certainly understand why players are opting out. I hear all this stuff about the death rate going down and all that sort of thing. Well, there's 129,000 people who have died. And these guys and these women have families, they've got kids. I certainly understand why they're doing it. But if you're looking for sports, well, you want baseball to have some semblance of a season. You want the NBA to finish off its season. And, the Ivy League is going to make a decision, I think, on the 8th about what they're going to do with their fall sports. That might be the first domino, so to speak, when the Ivy League decides what to do. So this next month here, Shaner, next 3-4 weeks, really crucial to see what happens with pro sports and with college stuff too.
Yeah, and obviously we're keeping our fingers crossed, but college football is very important to us where we live, where we work, things of that nature. If for whatever reason, Steve, they can't play on time, do you think there's a good possibility that they move the college football season to the spring?
They have to, because if you don't, there's going to be colleges not having sports. Let's just be honest about it. Just look what happened when there was no NCAA tournament and how many schools lost millions of dollars because of that, and coaches taking pay cuts, and in some cases, schools dropping sports. If that continues, forget about the community, which is going to suffer because you don't have those home games. You've got to do that in the spring, because if you don't, we won't have sports as we know them at the collegiate level now.
Yeah, and I've said this, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but if you don't play football this year, some portion during the school calendar, not only will athletic programs around the country go under, I think a lot of the institutions, without students being there, with no sports revenue, I think a lot of those will go under as well. Am I crazy to say that?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, already, the University of Florida's lost money. Michigan's announced how much money they've lost. Ohio State's lost. These big institutions are losing money because of this. So it's a domino effect. You don't have sports. You don't have a lot of revenue. You can't fund things. Do students want to come to that school? It just starts from the top and rolls down. Not a good thing.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. We got a Facebook Live question here for you, Steve. It's brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Rick says, if the length of golf holes has increased, why don't they raise the height of the college and pro basketball rims?
That's actually a pretty good question. Because look, people are bigger, stronger, taller. Yeah, I think there are purists, though, who want to see, games stay the same. 1968 in baseball, year of the pitcher. Denny McClain wins 30 games. Yastrzemski wins the batting title with a 301 average. Only got to hit 300 in the entire league. What did they do? They lower the mound. So, there's been precedent for that, but that's a great question. But I don't think the NBA is going to even attempt that for a while.
Not at all. Steve, let's talk about a lot of the we haven't talked to you in a couple of months. A lot of the publications that come out in the grocery stores and the Athlons, the Lindy's and stuff. And Gators are ranked up there pretty high in a lot of them. A lot of them expect Florida to play Alabama in Atlanta. Hopefully that happens. Your thoughts, are the Gators getting too much love, or do you agree with that?
I agree with that. I see why they're getting it, but there's not a school in the country, Alabama, Clemson, anybody, that doesn't have a question mark. This has to go right. This guy can't get hurt. Well, for Florida, Dan Mullen's established some depth now, but do we really know how good the offensive line is yet? You get a transfer to come in who should start right away. That should help that group. The running back room looks really good. And your position, Shano, I don't think anybody thought, he'd come in and do the job that he did. So defensively, will somebody replace Grenard? You know what the coordinator is going to do. He's going to blitz his fanny off. That's what he does. Florida's really good in the secondary. They just can't slip up in a game. For example, going to Knoxville. I know it's on the road, but Florida's better than Tennessee. Florida's going to Ole Miss. Florida's better than Ole Miss. It comes down, in my view, to Florida, Georgia, and getting over that hump. And I think Florida's going to get over that hump.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. When you look at, I've had people, when we've had different people talking college football on here, the biggest question I get on Facebook Live is about the offensive line. We got to run the football better. Well, I understand that. And you're old school. Steve Russell loves to pound the football. But it's the coach's job to win football games. If we can't run it, but we can throw it 50 times and be successful, let's do that. So I don't think it's one of these deals where they're going to beat their heads against the wall if they can't run the football. But I do think the offensive line will be improved this year. As you mentioned, the transfer from Mississippi State. Dan Mullen wants to run the football, but Dan Mullen wants to win football games as well.
Yeah, and that's what makes him a good coach, Shane. And that's what made your guy a good coach. You have to do on that day what's successful. I mean, on a certain day, you may rush for 250 yards. Yeah. Well, the next time you play somebody, you can't run the ball. You're going to keep running the ball and be stubborn? No, you have to find a way on that day to win. And if you run it enough, if you run it just enough, look what happened to Florida last year. 2 yards, 3 yards, 3 yards, 56 yards, touchdown. Well, big plays count. That also counts to the rushing total. And if you get that play to the house, nobody's going to care if your previous 3 carries were for 3 yards or 2 yards, but you just scored on a long run. So if Florida can continue to do that, its offense is going to be fine if they can throw the football.
Steve, I think everybody knows you're a baseball guy. You and Cardozo do a lot of the broadcasting. Have you seen the new ballpark?
Yes, I got a tour of it, Shane. I can't even describe it. I mean, we've gone to all the venues, the LSUs and the Carolinas and the Arkansas, who've had, really good places to play. And now Florida's place is in that league. And here, from a fan's perspective, here's the 2 biggest things. Number 1, more shade. You're going to have much more shade when you go to a game during the daytime. Now, the SEC network, they're the kings and they set the times, but overall, a better shade. And number 2, what used to happen when you went to the concession stand? You couldn't see the game. You had to listen to it on a speaker. Well, now you go to a concession stand, you can see the game. You can actually watch the game and get a hot dog or a hamburger or whatever. So, I mean, just those 2 things alone, but the locker rooms and, where the coaches are, it's just state of the art. And even the press box is bigger where we are. So it's really going to be a good place to play.
Yeah. Give me your thoughts on, that they finally decided they're going to play Major League Baseball or try to. Give me your thoughts on all the stuff going on between the Players Association and the owners and things. How you felt about that?
I'm going to answer this as a fan, Shane. Baseball just doesn't learn. Baseball does not learn from, I'm a big history guy. You got to learn the lessons of history. Baseball has had peaks where they've really been popular, and then what happened? Bam, there'd be a strike. 94, for example. Well, fans don't forget that. And when the average age of a fan is in the 50s, which is what it was last year, now you're trying to attract younger fans. Oh, and we're not going to play. We're going to have this stupid back and forth. I understand, you were a pro. You wanted to make your money. I understand that. Players only have X amount of time to make that money. I understand. But in the pandemic, you got to give and take. And there was no give and no take on either side, and it makes the sport look bad. And that's going to resonate for a while. And that's why I'm hoping that if baseball does resume, it's fun again, it's exciting again. But is Mike Trout going to play? If Mike Trout doesn't play, that takes away arguably the best player in the game right off the top. That's not going to help.
Yeah. Let's talk a little NFL. Obviously, you're a big Jets fan. I think you're feeling pretty good that Tom Brady moved down to Tampa Bay. Now the Patriots have brought in Cam Newton. Cam had a couple of good years with the Panthers, won the MVP, but in my opinion, he has to be able to run the football to make him what he is as a quarterback. Do you think he will be the starter, 1, for the Patriots? And 2, do you think he will be able to coincide with Bill Belichick?
I think he'll be the starter. I think that's why they signed him. And yes, I do think he'll be able to coexist with Belichick because, look, you've got an offensive coordinator there, remember, who drafted Tim Tebow, Shaner, right? When he was with Denver. So he tailored an offense around Tim Tebow's strength. Well, he's going to do the same thing with Cam Newton. Cam Newton, Pro Football Focus does a really good job of breaking down everybody and what they do. They say a lot of Newton's issues are high throws. that he's not accurate because he throws the ball too high. Can McDaniels help him with that? He doesn't have a great set of receivers, but when he runs, that play action stuff really helps, and you don't ever count Bill Belichick out. As far as the Jets, I think they're going to be a little bit better. I've never liked the hire of their coach. I'm not thrilled with the quarterback yet, but he doesn't have a lot of weapons either. So I think this is a big year. The Bills are going to be pretty good. I think the Dolphins are going in the right direction. The Jets better keep up, or they're going to find themselves rock bottom pretty soon.
Yeah, and I don't know if I've ever asked you this either. With Tua and Joe Burrow, obviously two of the best college quarterbacks we've seen in quite some time. Which one do you think is going to be the better pro?
A lot. This. A lot of that is what surrounds you. What weapons surround you. An average, so-called average quarterback can be made a lot better if you have a running game and receivers that he can get the ball to. I don't know if Joe Burrow is a one-year wonder, because I don't think. Let's talk about the beginning of last year. Did anybody mention? Did you or me mention Joe Burrow as a Heisman candidate? No, but he was in a great system with great receivers and a really good running game. But he's as accurate as they come. I just happen to think Burrow is going to be the better guy. I'm wondering about Tua Shane and injuries, because he tends to run around a lot. And in the NFL, they get you hurt. You can't do that. Mobility is one thing. Get out, run around. But the way Tua does, he tries to make a play so much, he tends to get hurt. He can't do that in that league.
We got another Facebook Live question here for you, Steve, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Dan wants to know, did they put in a Hall of Fame in the baseball park like LSU has?
I did not see it. I just I looked at the facility itself, so I don't think so, but I will check on that, because I'm not.
They probably didn't, because, I think there's only one University of Florida Athletic Hall of Fame, so to speak, right. And all those pictures are displayed up in the touchdown terrace. It probably wouldn't be a bad idea one day, with all the athletes that we've had, baseball have a little something at their ballpark, maybe football do something in their new football facility, possibly, but I have not heard of anything like that.
A lot of baseball facilities around the league, if you walk in the you get food or whatever, there's pictures of some players sometimes. So that might end up being, but I don't think there's a separate wing or place for that.
So, Steve, you were telling me before the show started, you've interviewed a lot of folks in your career. You got to interview the Golden Bear, Jack Nicklaus. How was that?
Shane, it was awesome. That's been a bucket list thing. I've always admired him, because I thought he did it the right way. He wasn't loud. He wasn't controversial. Now, when he got in the golf course, he wanted to beat your brains in. But that's what makes a good athlete. And I've always respected excellence. I've always respected you, because all that stuff behind you. You did things I'm not able to do. Jack Nicklaus does things most human beings aren't able to do. So getting a chance to pick his brain a little bit, and ask about the rivalries with Player and Arnie and Trevino, and then he's a golf course designer. So how did he get into that? I didn't know the backstory of all of that. So matter of fact, the first event with fans is going to be Muirfield, which is going to be his design course. So yeah, it was awesome to talk to him.
So Steve, what you been doing during this pandemic, since haven't been a whole lot of sports, no students to bother you?
Well, I missed them. I got to tell you, one of the things that I get the biggest thrill out of is helping kids. And if we have something to do with somebody getting a job in the business, that's what we're here for. I mean, doing a show is nice, and all that, but that's what I'm really there for, to help them. I've gotten a lot closer to some of them, just because we haven't been able to stay in touch by seeing each other. So been a lot of emailing, and how you doing, and how's your family, and assigning stories remotely has not been easy. Them doing work remotely has not been easy. Are you still learning? Are you still getting something out of what you're trying to do? And when there's no sports, it's been challenging trying to find them a story to do. So it's been good, but I get to see my grandson a little more now, and that's awesome. Cooper. So, but I think, like all of us, I just want to see some sports because it's been too long.
Yeah, no doubt. Last thing for you, what's the latest on UF? Are they waiting? From a student standpoint, coming back to campus?
The plan was to have them come back to campus. They were supposed to announce something last week. They've now postponed that to later this week. And I think they were just waiting to see, what the numbers were going to be in the state. But Shane, I'm convinced of this. They'll be the way that we've always had classes is gone, at least in the short term. There's going to be social distancing. There's going to be mask wearing. There's going to be still online, like we're doing now. I think there's going to be some kids whose families, much like players, right? Their families are going to say, I don't feel safe having my son or daughter go back to Gainesville. I want them to, have their education remotely. I think that's going to happen too. So flexibility is going to be the key for all of us here, trying to figure out the best way to educate our kids, keep them safe. And look, we all know this. We were young once. Look how many people are going out and congregating, no mask, no social distance. Look where all the kids are coming from. They're coming from all over the place. So I think there's going to be a fall semester, but it's not going to look anything like we've seen it in the past.
Yeah. Well, Steve, we appreciate you joining the show. Still, everyone can check out Steve Russell from 12 to 2 on WRUF ESPN Gainesville. Steve, stay safe, my friend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Shaner, always good to talk to you, buddy. Thank you.
All right, that's Steve Russell. We're going to take our first time out of the program, folks. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We're the largest community bank in the state of Florida and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Celebrate has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take a time out. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Kim and Mark Hilinski, talking about Hilinski. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Be right back.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your #1 choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guide, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Aikido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, and Pomodoro Cafe. If you are interested in promoting your business on this show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
He's looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to a Monday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Starbucks, and Regal Cinemas. And coming soon, the HBC's new restaurants, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point. I want to welcome now to the show Kim and Mark Hilinski. As I told y'all before, we're going to kind of go outside our comfort zone today, talk a little bit about what many student athletes encounter each and every day. That's mental health. Kim, Mark, welcome to the show. Really appreciate y'all joining us this morning.
Yeah.
Morning, Shane. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about, y'all grew up, y'all lived in California. You have 3 sons. Mark, I don't know if you were a former quarterback, but all three of them were quarterbacks. I don't know which one of y'all are the better athlete, but you have three tremendous athletes. You had Kelly, Tyler, and Ryan. Talk a little bit about how it was with these three boys growing up all being quarterbacks.
Boy, they were all athletes first, they like to play soccer and baseball and football. They sort of narrowed it down to football and maybe baseball, and all of them were naturally, they were taller than most of their kids, teammates and so forth. So I coached Kelly. Kelly's my oldest. I coached him, and I needed somebody that could remember the plays, and he wasn't the most athletic kid, but he could see over the line and he could throw the ball away and had a blast doing it. So I don't know what that they weren't really groomed for quarterbacks. You asked the question. I played quarterback in high school a little bit. Also played defense. It was a long time ago where you did a lot of that stuff. So they enjoyed that. They enjoyed leading the team. They enjoyed being sort of the center of that kind of stuff and having a lot of pressure put on them. So I think they just naturally gravitated to that position. Like a lot of kids, as they outgrew this parent's ability to help them, they worked with other quarterback coaches and such, and enjoyed it. And we sort of looked out for that. We put a lot of time in the film room, a lot of time, Saturdays and Sundays throwing balls and staying in shape and stuff. And we sort of had our eye on that, but they enjoyed it. You never had to ask them to do it. They were sort of dragging you. So yeah, they all definitely enjoy the sport in that position.
Yeah, we all here to talk about Hilinski's hope. Obviously, we played the video, and a lot of people know the story about Tyler. He went to Washington State, and for whatever reason, ended up taking his life. And we appreciate y'all coming on. And huge come from behind win against Boise State. Is that correct?
He actually, the last game he played was the bowl game against Michigan State down in San Diego at the Sun Bowl. So, but yeah, the last game he won was the Boise State game. That's right.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, obviously when y'all got the phone call from Wazoo that he went missing, didn't show up at practice, what kind of went through y'all's mind?
Worry, of course, but I didn't think at all that he was dead, that he had taken his own life. I thought he got in an accident, maybe he got in a fight with his girlfriend, maybe he just needed some time. It was winter up there, so I was worried about the snow, and him driving is not the best driver. But that didn't enter our mind at all that he had passed the way he did. It was terrible getting that call.
Kim's right. I don't think it went very quickly from that first phone call to panic to racing to the airport, and trying to get up there, not knowing what had happened. And we still to this day don't really know exactly the timeline between the calls and so forth. We don't know how much they actually knew at that point. But you have to understand, for Tyler to be missing a practice was already just every bell and alarm went off, because that's just not like him not to communicate and to ever miss practice. So we immediately knew something was fairly wrong. But yeah, like Kim said, we didn't worry about him so much. He ran out of gas, or he, ran off the road a little bit or something like that, or his phone died, and he couldn't get a hold of somebody. But, the follow-up calls sort of ended all hope that he was going to be okay. So that was really, it's the worst news you can get.
Yeah, I can't imagine. So I want to say Mayo, y'all donated his brain to the Mayo Clinic, if I'm not mistaken, and there was some CTE in there. And we've all heard about, some NFL guys in their career having CTE taking their lives. Do you think there should be some kind of, I'm sure there's studies going on, but to find out when a college athlete goes to college, what kind of damage is already done to his brain? And would you let your three boys, if y'all knew all this, would you let your three boys continue playing football? And obviously you do, because Ryan's playing. But I've gone through the NFL concussion stuff, and it's a scary thing. But it's another thing is I probably wouldn't change it because I enjoyed what I did. I'm not really sure what I'm asking here, but it's difficult as a parent to put their kids, out there playing college football. Does that concern y'all at all now with Ryan still playing?
Yeah, I mean, without taking you through the step-by-step sort of process of Kim and I both listening to the experts that read the CTE in his autopsy report. We shared all that with Ryan and Kelly. The problem is there's risk in a lot of things, right? There's risk driving to work. There's risk being a commercial airline pilot and so forth. And if we thought, if there were evidence that Ryan was more susceptible because of DNA or family history or something, if that link were there, I think that would be a much different conversation. This Ryan's 19, and technically he's a man. He can make his own decisions. But we spent a lot of time talking to him, and Kim talking to Ryan about it, and Kelly weighing in and so forth. And he really feels like this is what he wants to do. He wants to play for himself and honor his brother. And those guys were really close, and I don't think stepping away from it just on the chance that something bad might happen was ever in the cards for Ryan.
Yeah. Obviously, y'all have no problem talking about what happened to Tyler, and y'all started Hilinski's Hope. Y'all travel around to different colleges, talk to the athletes. Obviously, with COVID, it's kind of stopped that. But why did y'all decide to do that?
Well, and we thought right away we had to do something, because if what happened to Tyler, it could happen to anybody. He was this sweet, loved, doted on, popular, wonderful person, and we had no idea that he was struggling. And we didn't want another, student athlete, person, family to go through what Tyler had gone through, what our family and friends have gone through losing Tyler. So it was really important for us to try to help other people, to destigmatize mental health, mental illness, and to provide resources for our student athletes.
Yeah, you have to think what the difficult thing for us ongoing is what was going on with Tyler the weeks before he passed. How miserable was he? What was he saying at night? We've talked about his phone and his his iPad and his computer and stuff, and there's not a lot of clues in that. But what we do know is Tyler didn't die in a manner that was compulsive. He didn't, the means by which he passed, he had at his disposal for 3 days. So it wasn't that. So he had to have been sick. At 21 and healthy, you don't end your life because everything's going well and you feel okay and your thought process is working. And Kim's right. We didn't want to see anybody else fall to that. And not that Tyler's he's special to us, of course, right? And he's wish you would have known him. He was just one of those guys you would have loved. If that kid whose family you can label us helicopter parents if you want. We're always around. We're there talking to the coaches, talking to everybody. And he was so well liked. If he can go without asking for help, then how many other kids are at risk? And we're not scaring anybody. The numbers are the same. The more you talk about it, it doesn't make the numbers go up. But the chance is, by making and destigmatizing, by talking about it, we're hopeful that other families can have these conversations. And if you're struggling as a student athlete, you can ask your parents, your coaches, your staff members for help. And there's quite a bit of help out there, right? There's technology now, Shane, in the brainwave technology for concussions. You can get pre-screened, and if you happen to get hit during the game, they can screen you again, and we get a better chance of getting you back to baseline. So I think we're making a ton of improvements around the country. Kim knows so well, we visited so many schools, and we're really pleased with the amount of services available to student athletes. But they can't avail themselves to it if they're worried about what everyone's thinking and what the coaches might say and so forth. So we're just out trying to talk about that, to make it easier for the kids to do that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the mental health help is out there, but the big, strong male athlete never wants to open their mouth and say they're struggling with something. Having all the times that y'all have talked so far in the last couple of years with some student athletes across the country, have they come up to y'all and said, hey man, I really appreciate y'all showing up because it's really helped me to open up to my counselors or whoever the health professionals there?
Every time, at every school, university that we visit, that happens every time. There's usually a few that come up to us, a man or a woman, a student athlete, and they share their story. And it's very important that when we give we call them Tyler Talks, that there are counselors, mental health professionals on hand, because they really see some of themselves in Tyler, or they know that they've been struggling and they found the strength to reach out and ask for help. So after we talk, usually 3 or 4 student athletes.
Yeah, there, and then the follow-up texts and emails and reach outs that via social media or whatever is, we know it's helping. How much is unclear. I think everybody has good intentions, and after one of those talks, they feel empowered to say something. And so we really just encourage them to take advantage of those resources that are out there. And if they don't have them, we do our best. But I think what we continue to see is an investment, not nearly the same as physical health, but an investment in mental health for student athletes. And that's a good sign. So going the right way, at least. We're not there yet, but it's going the right way.
Yeah, I know we're in Gainesville, and then down south, Ocala, Florida, had a quarterback who was at the University of Tennessee, Brian Maurer, who I think recently came out and had some issues. And I don't know if y'all were able to speak with him or not, but it's good that he spoke out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
We actually, we just had a conference. It was a virtual mental health conference, and Brian was the guest speaker on it. So I've developed a friendship with him, and of course Ryan, texts and talks with him, and he's such a great kid. And you're right, it's so important that he shared his story because he is empowering people by doing that.
Yeah, he went down. I went last week to the Elite 11 down in Nashville, and got a chance to talk to those guys. And I know Brian was on his way down there. He was going to be able to visit with them for just a minute too. So he's very good. He's very open. He's very articulate. He's direct and, to the point. And so I think that's really important for the kids to hear his side of it. When Ryan talks about it, he's talking before or because of Tyler or for Tyler. He's not speaking from experience, and there's an important part of that story for everybody too. But Brian talking and being so willing to be out there, I would tell you too, Shane, his coaching staff, he's told us, has been so supportive, and that makes all the difference from what we've seen. The student athletes will always, and you asked about people asking for help or saying they're going to get help. We've heard just as many say, hey, this is all great and stuff, but unless my coach is in on it, I'm not saying anything, So I think we got a little bit to go, but Brian's a great kid. No doubt about it.
We have a text here on our text line. It comes from Jack. He would like for y'all to discuss the bracelets that Tyler wore.
Well, so we have these, I wonder if they're talking about the Hilinski's Hope bracelets. So we make these bracelets, Hilinski's Hope, Tyler's number on the other side, and the inside, it's the 800 number, the suicide hotline. So we mail them out all over the world, actually. Lots of people are wearing them. I think over 100,000. But
Tyler never wore them.
Tyler didn't wear them.
No, but I believe Tyler wore 2 bracelets is what he just texted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the one he's talking about is actually Lou Gehrig's number was number 4, and never give up was sort of his, one of his couple of big phrases. And Kim's mom passed by ALS, and the boys all wore number 4 in honor of their grandmother, in whatever sport they were playing. And
when they were their youth sports, high school too, a little bit, yeah.
And Kim found these bracelets online, so very similar to the ones that we have now for Hilinski's Hope.
It's a Gehrig's Grit, Never Quit. And then the second bracelet, I had given it, he actually had it on the day he died. I called him Superman, just because he always tried to be that guy on the field, just make every play, even though it's nearly impossible sometimes. But so I gave him a Superman bracelet, and I have one on too. And he was wearing that the day he passed.
Talk a little bit about y'all moved to South Carolina. You're right outside of Columbia. What was the decision for y'all to leave California and move to the South?
Ryan, right?
Ryan, the only one.
Yeah, he had a lot of Pac-12 offers, and as a family, we decided together that it would be so hard to watch Ryan play in the same stadiums that Tyler played in. It's so emotional, right? And it would probably have not have been fair to Ryan to turn around and see his mom and dad crying in the stands, because we have memories of Tyler standing right there. So we decided, okay, the SEC, that might be a good place. And we came here and we visited some schools, and he decided on South Carolina. And the distance between South Carolina and Southern California is just too far, too long of a plane ride. And we decided that we would all move here as a family. So Kelly's here too. He graduated from college and moved out here. The South is different, but we love it. We love being close to Ryan.
How does he enjoy playing for Will Muschamp? Obviously, Muschamp I know very well, as a coach here at Florida. How does he enjoy it, and does he love playing in the SEC?
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a big dream of his, and he loves it. More on Friday than Sunday, I guess. But those are some big guys, that come after you. But he enjoys playing for Coach tremendously, and the rest of the staff. We got a new offensive coordinator, Coach Bobo, who's awesome. Ryan loves him. The guys love him. We have a great quarterback room, bunch of different skill sets. Colin transferring in from Colorado State, and Luke Doty, who's just an incredible athlete. So they've got a new book to learn, and new offense to pick up. Have some tremendous new talent, as well as guys coming back. So they're excited. You can't play this sport at this level and think you're going to get your tail whipped, on Saturday. You better not be there. So as they should be, they're trying to stay in shape, get in shape, learn the book, and be there for each other. And that's been, Coach Muschamp leads that charge, keeping those guys together. So he likes it very much. He loves playing here in South Carolina.
Talk about the three fingers at the beginning of the third quarter. Who started that?
A cheerleader, a Carolina cheerleader, and a fan. And it's such a great idea. It's wonderful. It came to us, I think, through Twitter or through Kelly and Orion. And they said, you know what, we need to work towards raising awareness. And one way we could do that, because Ryan is always throwing up three fingers when he's on the field. And I think they saw Ryan doing that, and they came up with the idea, let's stand up the first play of the third quarter. Everybody raise three fingers into the air, a moment of silence, which is incredible, to be in a stadium that holds 80 to 100,000 people, and to have them go quiet and raise three fingers for Tyler, but really it's for everybody who's out there struggling. And it's a great way to start a conversation. We've heard, kids next to their dads in stadium, why are we standing up and raising three fingers? What does that mean? And it's a wonderful way to start a conversation about mental health with your children, with family. And it's going into a 3-day, which Mark can probably explain a little bit more to you about that.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I saw where that's going to kick off college football mental health awareness. They're going to have like a decal on their helmets.
We invited, we're inviting all football teams. What we really did, Shane, is there was not, there's a lot of days for things. There's World Mental Health Day on 10/10 of 2020, and we wanted college football to be part of that, and we wanted to be part of that. So we took it upon sort of the Hilinski Hope group, with a lot of help from outside help from a couple of folks, and Noah Whalen specifically, but we created 3-day, which is really the celebration of college football mental health awareness week, as you say. And what we've asked the schools to do, it's it's free, right? You can ask us. We'll happily send you the decal for the helmets. We've done that. We did it such an amazing job as a sport for cancer awareness, and the pink ribbons, of course, and some of the gloves and socks and so forth. And so we wanted to do the same thing here. So we invited the schools to participate. One is we'll provide the stickers. Two, we'll send you a PSA on what putting up 3 fingers means and why, and that's free and easy as well. And then lastly, if your school is one of those that really wants to learn more, get more education, and get the Hilinski Hope curriculum on mental wellness for student athletes, we'll work with you on that. So we're hoping, we have a lot of folks in the SEC. We'd sure like to get the Gators on board. But it's something for everybody, right? We can compete and we can fight and we can want to win and all that, but we can also help each other. And I think that's what this is all about. If we can bring awareness and destigmatize mental illness, it'll be better for all the student athletes.
Speaking of the Gators, on the Titan MR text line here, Scott wants to know, have y'all been able to speak to the Florida football team?
Not yet. And there's no, people ask all the time, are you only going to do SEC? Or are you going to just go back to the Pac? We're reactive at this point because there's a lot of influx of, can you help or can you be here? And whether you're Division 1, 2, or 3, whether you're primarily a basketball school or a soccer school, we're there for all the student athletes. We happen to know football a little bit better, more context in that space, but we'll go anywhere logistically if we can do it. And as you said at the beginning, we're sort of shut down for the moment, but we're doing some of these, right? Some remote and so forth, but we'd love to get down to see the Gators for sure.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about, y'all have your own podcast. I believe it's called United, something along those lines. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, we, once everything got shut down in March, we had just come back from a trip to California, and we thought, all right, everything's getting canceled, all flights. And of course, schools are shut down, students are sent home. There's no one to really go travel to see and to speak with. So we thought we got to keep working. We just can't sit at home for 6 months and not continue with our mission. So we started a podcast called United. The E in it is Ryan's and Tyler's 3. We're working with a sports psychologist out of Ole Miss, Dr. Josie Nicholson. She's wonderful. She's a rock star in the field. And she brings on mental health professionals across the country, a lot of sports psychologists from universities all over, and once a week. And then she does 2 podcasts a week. And the second podcast is with a student athlete as they share their mental health issues or what they're doing at their universities. We just had Ivan Mazel on. It was a wonderful podcast. So that's just another way we're trying to reach and help and provide support.
Steve Spurrier Jr., I believe, was a coach at Washington State. I know Jerry and Coach Spurrier are supporters of what y'all are doing. Talk a little bit of, if y'all know them very well. Obviously, the Gator Nation, they're a big part of the Gator Nation, no doubt about it. But how was it, your son playing for Steve Spurrier Jr.?
Steve didn't come until after Tyler left.
Oh, I thought he was there.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, he wasn't there. I can improvise and tell you that Tyler loved playing for Coach Leach, and so anytime, the pitch from the recruiting trail to Washington State is, as a quarterback at least, it was, can you throw it 150 times a practice? Because if you can't, it doesn't really matter how good you're going to be, because you won't get enough work in. And so Tyler would always tell us stories, of course, and you've heard a ton of Mike Leach stories, but you're going to get 30, 40 attempts a half. And I think when Steve Jr. went over there was some excitement about, this is just going to get better and faster and funner. And, they did nicely after Tyler left, and we're happy for the kids for sure, and for the staff. but yeah, I mean, Kim talks to Jerry now and then, you know, a little bit, and we've met Coach, and that's all great. He's a big deal up here too. We've got our indoor facility, his name on it and so forth. So
yeah, Jerry's,
group.
She's wonderful. I went down to a golf tournament down in Florida. It was Hayden Hurst's golf tournament, and Coach was there, Jerry was there. We actually just walked the entire time and talked and talked. She's a wonderful, lovely woman, and I really enjoy her. And Coach he's great. Yeah.
He's a different guy, no doubt about it. Y'all are also involved with Jan Richards' organization, the Florida Rising Stars Project. Tell everybody what that's all about.
Well, Jan reached out and asked us if we would like to help with the mental health aspect of the game, right? You know, it's the camp, you know, on the field and all the skill sets that they're trying to teach. But I think it's wonderful what they're doing is they're trying to take care of the complete athlete, right? And that includes their mental wellness. And they asked us if we'd come on board and give our Tyler talk, share our resources as far as mental health. And we said, of course, absolutely. And I just saw the sizzle reel, and it's so powerful. And all the people that are involved with the Rising Star Camp are just wonderful.
I think, you know, your son plays quarterback, Shane, right? So all these camps that we go to, physical, you know, they focus on footwork and they focus on release and they focus on off platform and all that. And I think these guys are ahead of the game. They're trying to separate themselves from that. What else can we bring to the table for these student athletes? And, you know, domestic violence lectures and guest speakers and stuff from years past. I think, you know, they're coming around to mental health, and we're excited for that because we think it starts much younger. You know, by the time the kids get to college, they may be suffering, they may have been exposed to these illnesses. And so I think it's a terrific opportunity to get these guys information they need.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Last thing for you guys, if someone is out there struggling with depression, anxiety, or whatever, what would you recommend them doing?
Speak up. That's very important. And look for a trusted friend, family member, coach, counselor at their school. If they're really having a terrible time, they have to call 911 right away. I mean, that's an emergency. They need to get help. There's the 800 number that they can call. They can reach out to us. But I think keeping it inside is not good. It takes strength. I realize that to reach out and ask for help, but you can't keep it inside. You need to talk to somebody.
And if they want to get involved with Hilinski's Hope, how do they find y'all, and can they make donations?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, hilinskishope.org is the website, and we're just grateful for the support we've gotten thus far. It's difficult with COVID. A lot of people do want to volunteer and help. We don't have that many opportunities for that at the moment, but we certainly are interested in all the ideas and the support, and certainly the donations keep us getting to these schools. So we appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate y'all taking the time discussing what happened to Tyler. Hopefully, whether it's one person or 100 people, that it will help some student athlete or just a normal person as well. We're rooting for Ryan this year, except when he plays the Gators.
Yeah.
But he's a heck of a player. You could tell last year's a true freshman. He's a special player, no doubt about it. Again, I want to thank y'all for joining the program. Y'all stay safe, and hopefully we'll get you down here to talk to the Gators.
That'd be great.
Thanks, Shane. Good luck this year.
Thank you. That's Kim and Mark Hilinski. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Folks, we got a great show lined up for you the rest of the week, but we're going to wrap it up today. Today's show is a wrap brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe. Make sure you tune in tomorrow. We'll see you later. Take care.
Thank you.
Y'all,